Hey everyone, it's Cynthia here again, and welcome back to another YouTube tutorial adventure. This one is going to be a blast, I promise you. This tutorial will be split into two parts as usual. First, we'll be diving into Protopie, and then we'll be tackling After Effects later. So make sure you stay true to follow along with me. Before we jump into this video, I just want to highlight that it's been 6 months since my last tutorial. Don't worry guys, I think I'm fully back now. Also want to give a big shout out to Whitespaces. I'll be dropping the portfolio link in the description, so make sure you go check that out. If you're not familiar with what Whitespaces is, it's basically a creative powerhouse that focuses on design, development, 3D, motion, branding, you name it. It's a project created by me and my fantastic colleague Valentine. So most of the UI you'll be seeing here today was crafted by Whitespaces. Okay, I think I've said too much. So let's get into this video. Okay, we're back into this video. So a few weeks back, Whitespaces created a car configurator design. I know some of you saw the animation, but that was initially done on After Effects. So today I'm going to be showing how you could do both on Protopie and After Effects as well. Let me just give you a hint of what we'll be working on today. So at start, we're going to have a blur-like effect in which fades into the main page. We're also going to have a drag feature for the 360 view. So we could really control this as if it were a real website. It's really cool. Finally, we'll be having a color change effect in and the money that counts up as well. I just want to highlight that all of the images used in this tutorial belong to the rightful owners. I'm just solely using this for tutorial purposes, so I'll not be sharing any assets. Okay. So the first thing you want to do is create a new Pi file. And then by default, would see an iPhone 13 Pro preset. But all we have to do is click this, go to desktop and change it to 1440 1024 since that's what we initially designed for. And on Figma, we're going to go back there so we can export all of these designs into Protopie. So if you don't have the Protopie plugin, I'll be posting the link in the description so you can install the plugin inside of Figma. But this is what the design we did look like. It's just a really simple one. We have the color tab, the Mazda car. For now, it's just the still image we're using here, but I'll be showing how I got the 360 effect later on in this video. And on the right side, we have the price as well. So all I simply have to do is click this, right click, go to plugins, and you see Protopie. You click that and it says export as one scene to Protopie, and you hit export. Sometimes it takes a little while, but everything is gonna come in. Boom, it came in so quickly. So now on Protopie, what I like to do first is all of the groups that I have here, I like to rename it so it's easy for me to locate. So the first one, we could call this nav header. You call it whatever you want. I usually use names that's easy for me to remember. I could call this the color tab. Color tab. We could call this we'll call this car details. And we have that one there. We could call this big heading. And then we could call this image. I don't know what's hidden. Oh, I don't think I need this, so I'll get rid of that. Okay, first thing, if you all can remember the preview I showed you earlier, it started with a background blur effect. All we have to do is go to shape and click background blur, and we just extend it to fit our frame size. So for this, would want to make the opacity at 100, and then we on the right side we add a trigger for start because we want this to happen just automatically. We don't want to control it. It should just happen when upon landing on the page. So we're gonna call opacity, select the layer for background blur, and would want this to disappear. Maybe we could set the duration to 0.6 so it's a bit slower, and the delay could be at that. Let's preview this. Ooh, that looks good. Yeah, this looks good. I mean, you can feel free to set your specific duration maybe you want, but I feel this is really fine. This is fine to start with. Yeah, we could do this for now. Okay. So the next thing we're gonna do is, let me hide this so I'm able to click around the rest of the UI elements. So what I'm gonna do is take this out for now so I could bring it in when the page loads. I'm just gonna extend this so I can see properly. Click on the nav. All I just have to do is to hit the move trigger. So I want it to go back to, okay, to get the exact, I'm just gonna find where it was. It was at 30. Let me take it back. So I noticed this button has a fill. Let me just get rid of that quickly. Yep. So we click this, add a trigger, move from the Y. We're just going to take it back to 30, which is the original position. So for the easing, we could use, I have some custom easing safe, but this is what I like to use when I bring things into a page or a screen. So it feels really smooth. So for here, you could pause this or you could take a screenshot. So 0.5, Y1, 0.8, X2, 0.74, Y2, 1. And I'm using quad as well. But if I were to set these, all you just have to do is go back here, hit quad, and then you put in all of the stuff like mine. I'm going to go back to custom since I have this saved. I'll just hit this. For the duration, we could have something like 0.8, and for this, let's say 0.16. Let's see. Oh, that's really smooth. Yeah. So this is just a cool way of giving a little bit of thing to your motion designs. When I do motion, I do like to do this, where I hide all of the UI elements at first and then bring them in one by one. I feel like it's a new modern thing people do now. So you could do this whatever UI work you're on. Okay. Let's get back into the video. So we'll be doing the same thing for the color tab as well. So right now it's at 696. I'm just gonna move this down. We can make it just hit the edge of the frame. I'm gonna click this, move 696 if I can remember. We're gonna give the same thing. So it's really smooth. This is 8, I believe. 8. And then this was 1, 6. Let's see. So they coming together. Yeah. It's really good. Yep. Okay. And then we could do something for the card details. Maybe just the fade in. So it's basically playing with the opacity. For now, I'm gonna turn it off there on the right, and we go to opacity. We're gonna bring it back, and then for here, we could have the same one, but I'm not sure that's gonna matter because it's just the opacity. And for the duration, we could set the same one, but maybe the start delay would be a little bit like this, so it doesn't everything don't appear at the same time. Let's see. Okay, let's do this. I think that's better. Okay. Then lastly, for the big heading, we would maybe I want to have like put this as if it were in a max and then just bring it from the bottom. So more like a 3D effecting. So I'm just gonna add a container or just make this a group. So let me go back and do that again. So right click, group selection. Let's call this background heading. Then I'm gonna delete this. It's not visible. So we click on the text, and right now it's at 0. So I'm just gonna push it down so we don't see it. To hit that, go here, move. So just the same thing we did for this. It's similar. So we take it back to 0, and we can add the same ease out effect preset we have here already. So for the duration, could be the same 0.8, and let's delay this just a little bit here. Let's see how that looks. Oh, feels like it's obvious on the image, I think. Oh, oops, just the image is just so we need to move the image on top of there. Okay, this looks good. But sometimes you need to play with the timing of when you bring things to the screen. You don't want to move things, so many things at once, so people don't get distracted. It's just all about timing. I think I'm satisfied with this. It just feels like maybe this could, oh no, just a little bit. Yep. Yes. So it just appears the last. Okay, I think we're good on bringing things on the screen. Now we can move to this container. Rather, we can move to the 360, the main thing of the main thing. Okay, so the first thing we would want to do is create two things. First, a container and also a drag button. So it's like an invisible drag button that we'll use to control the 360. So the container will serve as the drag area, And the drag button will function as a slider for navigating the 360 car. So to do that, we just need to create a container. The top, you just hit container, and we can extend this. Let's say, kind of wanna do 840 and 337. I think that's good. It's because I've done this a couple of times. I kind of know, kind of save the preset for it, so it's easy to explain on the video. But the height could be 330. I mean, the x and the y value could be that, and 3237. I think this is just about right. Or probably this would be, sorry, 273. I just want to be sure that everything fits. So you just want to be sure that where we're placing, or wherever you're placing your container, fits this area of the image. But I'll be changing this image anyway, so let me just hide this. Let's hide this. So the next thing we'll be doing is to create a drag button like we talked about. So I'll just be heading over to shapes, hit rectangle. We can just make a rectangle. Maybe I could set 152, maybe 154. Just something that's easy for you to control when you drag. And I'll be putting this inside the container. Let me center this here. So this drag button, it's what will serve as the slider like I talked about to move the car in 360. And the container would be our drag area. So anything beyond this limit, the car will move. I'm just gonna call this drag area, and then we could call the rectangle drag button. Yeah, so the next thing here, we're gonna add a trigger on the right, and we're gonna click drag. And yeah, that's what we want selected would be the area. So for the response would be move, because we're moving the slider in this direction only. I'm gonna put it on this one here. We'll be setting a custom limit. So it will be 0 2. So the max would be, if we click the drag button, it start at 0. And if I drag it all the way to this point, which is the edge of the drag area container, is at 688. So that's what we'll be setting. And let me just drag this back. So that's what we'll be setting for our max X, 688. Let's preview this. Nothing is gonna work because we don't have any image, but it kind of looks like this isn't extending there. Let me see what the problem is. Oh, sorry, this move will be adding the drag button instead. So make sure when you call the trigger, it's the drag area container, but for the move, it's gonna be the drag button. So let's see. Okay, now that's better. So this is the limit we set for the car, because I'm not sure we'll be extending. Realistically, we won't be dragging from this point to this point. So I just set it where about the car is going to be. Cool. So we have that in place, but would want to make this invincible. So click the button and just go on the right panel and you uncheck the fill so we can see it. So the next part would be adding all of the images in. I think this is one of the most strenuous and annoying part of this video. I do have a 360 car sequence. I think that about 48 images. So I'll be importing that in now. Content. I just want to show you guys what this looks like. We have this from one, we see two, three, four, five, all the way down to 48. So if we're to put this together, let's say on After Effects or on Media Encoder, if you were to combine all of this image in one, the sequence, it's gonna be a video basically. So for now, we'll be using the image so we have more control over the 360 movement. I'm just gonna add that in right now. For the 8 copy, dropping in hot. Oof. That feels really weird. Maybe this is the final design. Okay, let's fix this. So this is, like I said, this is gonna be really strenuous and really annoying. So you have to be patient with this one. If you have a sequence, it's better you make the frame rate really smaller so to avoid. So imagine having a 3D object and the frame rate were up to 600. That would be having 600 images, and I think that's going to take about a week or two to get all of this in order. So for now, I was really glad it was 48 because the one I initially did, because I've done something similar like this for my company, and I think they were about 80 images. Oh god, that was the most strenuous and annoying part of my day. Okay, but we're gonna do this together, so it should be fun. So the first thing we can do is this. So you see one, we wanna be we're gonna organize it this in the correct order from 1 to 48. So I will take this all the way up, but since I don't want to do that, I'm just gonna put one there, and we'll look for two. Put two above it. 3. We have 4, 5, 6 is here. 7, 8, 9, and you have to be really careful with this. You don't want to mix up the numbers so the 360 thing doesn't look weird. So we got 13 there. Where is 14? I'm just gonna arrange it here. We have 15, 16, 17. Okay, I think this is the part where I speed up the video. Okay, I made it. So let's just count this all together to confirm. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 10. 8, 30, 30, 42, 6. Okay, everything looks good. So, because right now it's looking really weird, I'm just gonna click from this, or we click here and go to the last one, hold shift and click the other one. So it's just a way of highlighting multiple things together. And on the right side, we're gonna align center, and we're gonna align everything in the video so it stays like this. So that looks much better. Also, I'm just gonna do the same thing, highlight everything, and we put this inside a container so it's easy to control. We could call this 360 car. It could be at that. I think that's and then we just center it. I think this is okay. 180 to 35. So we wouldn't want the car to show right away. So I'm just gonna highlight everything and we're gonna dead the opacity. So we're turning it off for now. Okay, let's look at the preview. Right now we have everything in place. All that's missing is our car. So I think this is the part I pause and explain how this is gonna work. So the next thing we'll be doing is to add something we call a chain trigger. So a chain trigger is basically an action where one property changes the other property of the other layer that's been applied. Another chain would be having the opacity for each car. So I'm just gonna explain what we're gonna do before we really go into Protopie. I'm just gonna do a simple explanation for it so it's easy to understand. Okay, I have my Canva open because I just want to break down what I'm about to do so it's easier for you guys to understand it. So let's say we do have a magical button and then we do have a range or a limit where we can move this button from left to right. And under this, maybe we do have some values. Let's say this is 15, got 20, 35, 40. We got 73, 80. Oh, that 80 look so weird. Oops, I took this off. Sorry. Okay, now that looks awful. Let me just undo this. Yep. So 88. We got 100, 200, 450. Let's say we got 502. And then let's use the last range we did set for the drag. Remember 688. And that's the last limit where this body can move from between 0 to 688. And also, let's say we have a really fancy car. Okay, this is really awful. I need to take art classes. We have a really fancy car and I'm trying to do something magical with my first car. Let's call this our first car. Maybe we do have a couple of more we could do something fun with. And now I want to set a limit for my button so something happens to my fancy car. Between 0 to, let's say, 73. Let me take off my button and put it at that range. So I don't want my car to show between 0 to 73. That's what I want to do. I want when the range is set to 0 to 73, I want this car to go away. So that means this car disappears. And let me simplify this. We probably have controls where we could see. Oops, sorry. We probably have controls where we could see what we're doing. And obviously, if I don't want my car to show, this is going to be at 0. Okay, so now what next can we do to this first car? Let's set another range. Let's say when it gets between 73 to 88, which is the next point, because it's really close to each other. Let me take this off again. I want, because this is really close to each other, I want the car to appear back. So I'm gonna do this quickly. We're gonna take this off and we're gonna make our car come back. I really wet drawing. And because of we have controls, I could also just do this, add 100% to make it visible again. Okay, that's the second range. What else can I do to my fancy car? Let's set a last range. Let's say we only have options to have 3 ranges. So that's the rule. We only have 3 ranges we could set. So just imagine that's what this magical button and fancy car could do. So from 88 to the last one, let's say I want to set something to the last one. From 88 to the last point, which is 688, because it can't go any further than this. I don't want my car to show. Why don't I want my car to show? It's because it's gonna take so long to get there. So 688 and 888, that's a really long mile. That's a really long range if I were to use it in the sense of Protopie, but it's a really long mile if I was to use it in the example of moving my magical car. So let's erase this back, and from here we're gonna put the button back here. So when my sweet button is between 88 to 688, let me take off my car. Don't show my fancy car to anyone. I don't want it to be seen. That means on the setting here, I could just do this, take this off, and it becomes a 0. I hope that explains what I'm about to show you guys. I think this is a really simple form. So we can just think about the magic button that does like different things. Sometimes it's visible, sometimes it's invincible. So just think about it like that, and then I'm gonna get back into Protopie, and we use everything we've learned here on this funny sketch. We're gonna apply it into Protopie now. I'll see you there. Okay, we're back to Protopie. Now I'm first gonna set a chain trigger because I want to chain my button to all of my images. So I'm just gonna click that, go to add trigger, click the chain. We'll be chaining the X value. Why? Because it's moving in that direction. So if it were to be in the case that it's Y, is if we want to move the button from the top to the bottom, but that's not the case here, so we'll be using an X. And for this, I'm gonna call my first image. But before we do that, it's funny. I did discover a simple way to get values for our range. So remember that I've been adding, or I added some random values here on Canva for the range. This is just something I came up with my head, but I think the only values you would say that is really correct would be 0 and 688, because that's the starting point and the end point is 688. So how do we get our right values for the car? So what I did, it's a funny way how ChatGPT could really help you to Protopie. Let me show you what I did. Just gonna move these into my main screen. So I got really tired figuring out what specific range to set for me to be able to drag my car to a specific point. So what I did on ChatGPT is, you can see me, I said I have 48 images in total. I need to set an X value between each of them if the original range is between 0 to 68, because remember that's what we set for our drag area. What value does each of them get? So ChatGPT said to set the X value between each of the image, you need to divide this, you need to divide that. This felt like a lot to me. So what I did tell it to do here is name each value for each images, which is the 48 images, and please round the number up. I don't know why I use please, but I feel like it's more polite. Please round the number up. So ChatGPT, I can't believe he understood me. And this is not even the paid plan. This is the free plan. So anyone that's on the free plan, I mean, we could get this too. It did everything for me. So starting from image 1, it said the X value was 0 to 15. We got 29, 44, 59, 73, 88, all the way down to the last image, which is 688. This felt really simpler for me because it's like I know whatever values I take from here, it's gonna be perfect when I put it into Protopie. Okay guys, we're back on Protopie. So let's put all of the knowledge we just learned from the funny sketch into this. So the first thing I'm gonna create would be a chain trigger. So we're gonna click the drag button, add a trigger. For chain, it's the X value would be chaining because it's moving on this side. So if it was the Y, it would be the case where the button is moving from the top to the bottom. So on the chain trigger, I'm going to call my first image. So just try to remember everything I said about the magical button, our range set for the magical button. Remember, we only have 3 ranges we can use, and also remember our fancy car. I'm going to just expand the 360 car container and click the first image. I don't want to rename you. I just want to click you. Click the first image and set the opacity because that's what I want to control. So for the first range, I want to say when it's between 0 to 0. So 0 to 0 means it's not going to move. I want the image to become visible. Why do I want to do this in this sense? Is because right now we're seeing a black Canva. It feels like we don't have a car. But the moment we set these, the first car appears. So I'm going to set the second range. For this first one, I'm going to have only 2 ranges. So you click the plus to add a second range. So we're going to say here, when it's at 0, between 0 to 688, which is the last range, we don't want this to appear. So let's see the preview. So this is exactly what I meant. So at first, we didn't have any car, but because I set a range between 0 to 0, made sure the first car they see would be this before they click and rotate anything. So this is it. You see, the moment I drag, it goes away. Why? Because we've not added the rest of the 47 images. Okay. So let's click the second one. The same thing, add an opacity here. So what I'm going to say for the second range is this. So between 0 to 0, I want this to be invincible. Let's add 3 ranges for this. Between 0 for my second range to, which is the second. Remember, our lovely friend ChatGPT already set every X value for us. So all you have to do is to go there and just copy and paste the exact values. I'm just going to pull this in so we do it together. So for the second value, you see it says 15. So I'm going to add that there. Between 0 to 15, when the X is between 0 to 15, I want the opacity to be visible. But when it's between 15 to 688, which is our last X max, that sounded funny, which is our last X value, I don't want this to show anymore. Let's see what that looks like. So nothing is happening because we just started. I mean, guys, it's only 2 images, so we're not going to see anything yet. I think everything looks great. So let's just get back to adding the rest of the images. Everything seems fine to me. Okay. So for the third one, it's the same thing. So this is the other part I'm just gonna say is the second most annoying thing about this is because we have to add all of the 48 images one at a time. But it's okay, it's gonna be fun. Let's keep going. So for the opacity for the third one, what we want to do is when it's between, so that the last range, remember we said was between 0 to 15. So we're gonna do that here. When it's between 0 to 15, I don't want the opacity to show. Let me add my three ranges. So let me bring this back. So the third value we had 29, remember? So I'm gonna say between 15, the X between 15 to 29, I want the opacity to come back. But when it's between 29 to the last, which is 688, I don't want it to show at all. Let's see. Not gonna make any difference yet. It's not even moving at all, but let's keep going. So the first one, I'm gonna start to take this really fast because I don't want this video to be long, but don't worry, I'll be dropping this file in the description below, so if you guys want to download it and play with it, feel free to do so. So the opacity for the first one would be when it's between 29, I don't want it to show, remember. So for the second one, looking at the values here on the left, my left monitor, the image value for the image X value for the first one would be 44. So when it's at 29 to 44, I want this to be visible. But when it's at 44 to 688, I don't want this to be visible again. Yep. It's still not gonna move. Still not gonna move yet. But let's keep going. Let's say when we get to about the 10th one, something should happen. So for the, just make sure when you're selecting, you see when I select the first one, it's being highlighted there, and the second one and the third, just so you don't mix it up, because it can be really confusing in the eye, especially when the images are a lot. So for the fifth one, the same thing we're gonna do, add the opacity. So the last range we set between the X was 29 and 44, so we're gonna pick it back from 0 to 44 and make the 0. Set the last two, it's gonna be 44 between, let me look at my fifth X value is 59, so I want this to appear, and add 59 down to the last one. I don't want you to show. Let's see how it looks. Nothing is moving yet. Oops. Okay. It started moving. Look. It's doing that because we don't have anything set yet. So, I mean, look. We have something. I think I realized that why I thought it wasn't moving, because I was dragging from this point. So in case, I mean, I just use this for to showcase the work, because it's not real actually. But if you guys want to be really accurate about the website or wherever you're using this feature on, you can set your drag area to whatever point you feel is better for you. So I think I put mine here. That's why I'm able to drag. You can see this is coming to life. I'm dragging here and it starts dragging, but it goes away because remember I said when it gets to 0 to 688, it's gonna stop. So let's keep going. I guess we could do this. So opacity, we're gonna set the other one was at 59. zero zero. When it gets to that 59, you're gonna look at the sixth image, which is 73. I want this to be visible. At here, I want this to not be visible. I hope you guys really understand what I'm doing here. So what I basically said, this is between 0 to 59 because it's a long way to drag from 0 to 59. I don't want anything to happen, so that means I don't want my image to show. But between 59 to 73, I want that other image to show. So we're using this same logic on the PNG sequence that we created. So what this is doing, if I go back to this preview, is it's taking each image from 1. So we set 1 to 6. It's taking each image from 1 to 6. And at every point I drag, the previous image disappears, which becomes 0 opacity. And the other one I set, which is the new one, becomes invincible. So you guys might not realize it, but it's gonna feel really real because no one really knows what we actually set. But this is looking real, and you can't see this happen because we set the proper range of values for it, which is the X value. So it's that simple as that, and that's what we're doing here. Okay, because I don't want this tutorial to be really long, I'm going to speed up this video to where I get to let's say the 47th image, so I show you guys how to add the last one. Okay guys, we're back. Oof, that took a while, but I have everything set, so you can see I have it up onto the first one, down to, I stopped at 47. So for the last one, let me just preview it so you see this beauty. Ooh, how it rotates really well. But you see when I stop here, it still goes away. So I want to set the last range and show you guys how to do it so you don't have this issue. But I mean, look at this. I can move it so fast. And it just feels really real and seamless. Okay. So for the last range, we're going to hit the last one. Opacity. And it's gonna be from 672. I want this to be 0. Call the last one 672 to the last. I want this to be obvious, and it's the same thing. 688 0 688 0. Let's see. Looks good. Now it doesn't, like, no matter where we put it, it's always gonna be there. No matter where we leave the drag slider to be at, it's always gonna be. So guys, this is how you get a 360 effect. For this is almost anything. This is not just for a car. You can use this, let's say, for an e-commerce. It could be used in AR project too as well. Almost anything you could think of to rotate. All you have to do is, when you create your models on, let's say, Blender or C4D, instead of having it as a video, rendering it as a video, you can render it as a PNG sequence, and you take those images into Protopie, and then you're able to control it like this, as if it were real. So, okay, I mean, this is not the end of the video. Let's just finish up. It's almost done. Let me collapse this back, and the last thing I'm gonna do would be this. So, okay, this is looking really long. I'm going to collapse this one as well. We can call this chain car. So we're gonna create an oval shape is what we're gonna use with our car. But first, what I wanna simply do is I click the red color and it changes to that car. So I do have the red version of this 360 sequence. So I'm gonna bring it in, but because of I mean, let's be honest, you could only set these based on the angle you want to see. So I'm not gonna make this animation to wait like feel very dynamic, that when we change the car we're able to rotate the red car. I think that's gonna take a while, but if you want to do that, it's really easy. All you have to do is duplicate this, bring in your second image, and I mean the images of the car should look exactly alike, same width, same height, same x and y values. So it's so seamless when you change it. So you change it from a color to that color. All you have to do, duplicate that, bring in the images, the same thing we did. You chain it to the same button and then you add the ranges just like as we did there. I'm not gonna do that here. All I'm gonna do in this video is change the car to the color and stop. The moment it changes, I'm not able to rotate it anymore, and I'm gonna hide the other gray car, which is this one that we did here. So let's get into it. So at first, I don't want this to show now, so I'm just gonna hide these away, or better still, turn off the opacity so it's easy for me to add the trigger. And what I want to do when I click that, I want to add a cool color effect. So I'm simply going to do this, create a shape, create an oval shape. Probably for the width it could be 133 133 133. I think that's a good size for this. And I also want to create a container, so I'm just basically doing this group so it stays in the container. I want to position this container to let's say about here, 235. Is I think that's where the car is gonna be at. So look at that box. So let me bring in my car image in. I'm gonna bring in the car that looks like this. I think this one. Maybe when I drag it to this point, I want the car to change to this. So I'm just making sure that this fits the same thing, 180 to 35. 180 to 35, so it's at that same point. Okay, let's call this red car, and we're gonna move this here. I'm gonna call this max. This will be adding a max to it, and we want to just hit that and click use as max. And at the start, I want the oval shape to be at, let's see, 17. And I also do not want it to appear, so probably take it all the way down. So let me make this visible and select this and drag this down so it's not visible. Let me just drag it properly. Somewhere about here is good. So you see that red box, those guides. So that's where I want it to be. And I'm gonna click this. Okay. So we're just gonna move it down to that point, and we could get rid of the fill because we don't need that since we already added this as a mask. And what I'm gonna say here, we're gonna add a trigger. So when we tap this, so I think I'll probably have to take this down so it's easy for me to click. Where's the color tab? And we want to click this whole thing. So let's just click so red. So let's add the final one, the tap trigger. When it's at that, I want this. Where is it? My mouse. I want the oval to move back to 0, which is its, I think, original. No, I don't want it to move to 0 because it's gonna be at the center. I just want this to move upward. Oh, you see that? I think I already spoiled it before I even added the trigger. But you see that effect? You see it just the red car happens. So I want it to move, I think, about this point, which is 0. I think 0 is good. So let's do 0. I want that to move there, and probably we could set something. Give me a second. This thing feels a little bit frozen. Okay, I want it to move there to 0, and for the duration, we can use the same one. It could be this point, and we can use the easing that we have before. And when that happens, I also want the oval shape, because now remember we set these at 17. I want the opacity of the red car to be visible first, and then at here I want the opacity to be visible again. So let's see how that feels like. Okay, we have these. We can rotate our car now. I think I put it to this point. When it gets to this point, I'm not sure. Oh yeah, you see that? It's really cool. So this is what I'm saying. Like if I put these, if I stop the drag at this point and click this, you see it's gonna come from there and it's gonna look really weird. So I just did this for the tutorial, but if you're ever presenting this, let's say at work, just make sure you are making the red car dynamic as well. So the same step we took to do the gray car, you apply to the red car, so it's so easy to play around with. Now I have to think, oh, where did I stop the car? It's somewhere here, and I'm changing this. Simple, easy as that. Okay, I think that bit is done. The other thing we could probably do would be we need to show that selected thing. I don't know if I took it off because I remember yes. So here the same thing, we could just add an opacity for that to appear. Let's do it quickly, and that appears and it says selected. And the final thing we could do, you notice when we did that, because we did have a price for this. when we put this is supposed to go from 30,769 to, I believe, 30,919. I think so. I think so. Yeah, that's correct. 919. So we would do that last bit quickly, and I think that will be the final thing for this tutorial. So the first thing I'm gonna do is look for that. Okay, I think because we move everything away, so it's really easy. So this is why I say, like, it's good to name your layers. Name your layers so it's so easy to find. But it's a habit that I get really bored. I don't even name them. So for this, I believe it's this text. I don't know why I'm seeing so much hidden things on this design. Okay, I think I'm gonna call out Val. I see you. Just know that I'm watching you. Okay, back to this. We're gonna make this on the right. You can see there's an option to make this editable. So we're just gonna click that so we could play around with the text. Other thing I'm gonna do would be to add a variable here just for this scene. Oh, let me delete that. So we're adding the variable for this scene. We could call this honey. Or we could just call this price. And we'll be adding that same value we had, which is 30,769. Like it's right there. And what I'll be doing is to create an invincible hidden rectangle. I'm going to tell you why. So let's go to shapes. Doing this, something really small. Let's say the height could be this. Just put it outside there because this is gonna serve as our counter effect we're gonna have. So the next bit would be to, now that we have this, I'm gonna chain this rectangle. Let's call this invincible rectangle. Oops. Invincible rectangle. That name sucks. I'm just gonna say hidden rectangle. And then we'll be chaining that hidden rectangle to our height. Oops. It's gonna be the height. Where is it? I need my glasses. We're gonna assign this variable. So when it's at 10, we want the money to be at the same price, which is this. So let's say when this height gets to 500, we want this to add up to what we want it to add up to. So which is 30,919. So these are just adding the values of the price, but the height makes the change. So the height is basically the effect, and then the value here, it's what changes. So I'll be adding a detect trigger to this, and the same thing would be the price. For this one, it's gonna be the text. I'll be having this value to it, but we'll be using a formula instead. We just do that. Click this. You could pause and copy this because we're gonna do first that thing. I think I have it saved here, so I'm just gonna copy and paste it. So this is what we'll be adding into this, and we just hit oops, in the variable name I use should say price. Yeah, this is good. So the last thing before we do for this to work, we need to add like a scale to this. So I'm just gonna add it here on the top to the hidden rectangle to get the effect like I talked about. So we're gonna add the scale. Let me just call the hidden rectangle. So what I want to do would be just the 10, and on this value it could be in out and it could just be 0 0. So I'm gonna add the next scale. um Give me a sec. Let me remember what I did there. Okay, so I'm just gonna add the other scale for 500. The delay could be this, and it could be at that. So let's see how this works. Finger crossed. Moment of truth. Move this here. Oh, you see that? It works. It works. Our money changes. Yeah, so guys, this it's gonna come to the end of the tutorial. I'll be dropping the spy file in the description, but before I do that, let's add everything together and not forget our lovely background blur effect. So I'm just gonna move this above. Yes, and put everything together. You see, I feel like maybe we could delete that. It looks like the text is coming even right before it blurs in. Let's make this, let's see. Yes, just make sure you can just extend the delay a little bit more so it doesn't happen at the same time like what I talked about. So we have this working, we have our car moving anyhow we want it to move. And when it gets to this point, like I said, I mean, I didn't make it to be very dynamic, just for tutorial purposes. Now this happens by me, guys. Now you know how to use variables to work with pricing. We know how to change colors in cool effects. We even know how to add in cool animation, the easing, the timing. We learned all of that today, and the final peak of it all, which is the 360. We did learn how to do that today. So that's the end of the tutorial. Now we've come to the end of the tutorial, guys. I hope you guys like this one. I know it's a lot we covered, but if you have any question, feel free to drop them down below. I'll be answering them. And also make sure you rewatch this video if some parts are not clear to you. But I mean, guys, we've come a long way. We learned how to change money. So maybe let's say you have a cart and you want to keep adding items, and you want the price to change dynamically. Now you know Protopie can do this with just using variables. Or maybe you want to have a color effect thing, or we want to have a 360 angle scrubber. Now you know how to do that, guys. Thank you guys for staying true and watching this. The part 2 of the tutorial, which is After Effects, will be dropping after this one. So make sure you subscribe, like, share, and I will see you here. Bye.